Still have Amy Jo. Are you there still?
I am.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
You're a great holder honor. Thank you.
Yes. So, I'm not even quite sure where we were in the conversation, in terms of, but we were talking a little bit more about this Facebook page. How do you see it progressing, or do you feel as though,
Or when school returns,
Yeah.
what is the ideal situation
yeah,
for both sides?
yeah,
Is that a proper question?
I don't know, Amy?
It stumped me.
Yeah,
I think, you got me stuttering.
It's okay. But because, you started it because we were all having these struggles. I don't think the struggles are going to go away, but I do feel like they're going to be presented in a much different way. I personally don't want to be a part of a page that's going to do nothing but broadcast that there's 4 positive cases at Ritchie Elementary School. You know what I mean? Because we have to realize that this is a virus and it's not going away and those things are going to happen. But how can we positively communicate and pivot, I guess you should say,
To moving forward to remote and virtual and making it work for not only us, the parents and kids, but also the teachers that now are teaching virtual and remote, which they did start in the beginning because there was people who elected not to go into school to start.
Yeah. Which we started virtual.
And now it might be a different format.
Yeah, and you know what? I think, like in my head, I have a whole bunch of different scenarios that I would love to have the opportunity to say, well, why couldn't we have tried it this way?
Right.
Or why couldn't we have tried it this way? But I think whenever you're in a position like that, we all know it'd be naive for us to think that everyone's going to be happy, right?
No, absolutely.
First of all, we're humans.
Right.
But I think that they're just going to have to do what's best for the majority. And I do want to say this, I hear an awful lot of people saying, and this isn't even on our page, this is in my life, but, they're just doing this for sports. That's the only reason. And, I don't have an athlete. We're lucky if we can walk across the floor without tripping over our toes sometimes.
I get it.
You know what I mean?
I get it. I'm there.
Those people. But we can sing. So,
Yeah, we're a Broadway house ourselves.
yes. Yes. And so I think one of the things that has really changed my perspective as I've watched my daughter struggle with the lack of bands in her life is maybe it's not so much, maybe we need to quit framing that as, they're only doing it because of sports. But maybe, we need to take into consideration that they're parents who want the best for their children.
Yeah.
And maybe if those sports are the passion and the drive that those children have, then that is what's best for them. And so, I think there are just so many different ways that we can stop and take a few breaths and, calm down and really start understanding that, we're all in the same situation. Right? We were talking about that, I think, right before the break. I know people who are doing well. Hell, I'm doing well right
It's okay.
now. Okay, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I should come with a warning label sometimes.
No,
But, I'm doing well, right? My job pivoted to online. I've never had a loss of income. I don't have to worry about how I'm going to pay the rent. Actually, I was saying the other day, I have a form of survivor's guilt because this has been my best year. While everyone else around me is really struggling. And, I think that we just need to take into consideration that no one's living their best life right now. Whether that's because they can't go see their parents or whether that's because they're working as, I have a friend who's a respiratory therapist who knows she's never getting out of there with less than 12 hours that day.
Right.
And 12 hours is a blessing, right? I don't think any of us are really thriving, No,
we're surviving and celebrating small victories.
Absolutely. It's cut ourselves some slack. I think another thing, this is what I kind of want to point out, on the parent page, I don't do drama. I'm just too old for that. And so I think sometimes, even as a society, that we need to understand that being uncomfortable doesn't always necessarily mean that you're being dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so part of what I wanted to say the other night when I got cut off, because, I rambled, was, like my kids have gone to Title I elementary and middle schools, and I was having a conversation with a parent whose child has never gone to a Title I school. And so I made a comment, and I'm like, I have to do that Title I parent compact, and and I said, nowhere on there does it say I'm responsible for making everyone in the school system comfortable all the time.
Right.
They're like, what do you mean a Title I parent compact? And so they had no idea that, whenever your kid goes to a Title I school, that you have conversation about, this is your these are the expectations for you and your child. And so I'm like, little tweaks like that are things that maybe can make a huge difference in education if parents were all on the same page and understood that. And I mean, I hope I'm making sense, but I don't understand the culture of, say, Steenrod or Woodsdale, because my kids have never been in Steenrod or Woodsdale. Right?
Yeah.
So my whole experience is based upon the culture at Ritchie and Wheeling Middle.
Right. Everybody kind of understands the boat that they're in right now.
Yes.
What ship they're sailing
Absolutely.
in, and what works and what doesn't work. And even, there's some teachers that are teaching virtually much different than other teachers. And I think that is what is impacting everyone's emotions through this too, is the experience that you're having. So I would agree 100% with you in terms of, that's why I like this page. And I told Sonia, I texted her the other night, I was like, thank you so much for putting your post up there and creating so many having the same kind of emotions about this, it's not just about if it's safe to go to school or not, it's about why we are feeling what we're feeling. And you brought up that parent survey too.
Oh yeah, the parent survey, that was Beth Collins, I think, and a couple other people that put that together. I actually found that to be
a little astounding.
Yeah, I didn't realize out of the 79%, I think it was, 59% of the teachers and staff who responded were from elementary, do not want to go back to school. And that actually shocked me. I guess, and that's like you said earlier, Amy, we have to hear every side, and I keep listening to my circle parent side, and sometimes we bring in another teacher that we've grown very fond of, and we ask her what she thinks. Sometimes she probably thinks we're attacking her, but we're generally trying to get the inside track. And I'm like, wow, do this many teachers, they don't want to return to school? I found that shocking.
Yeah.
But I'll be the first to admit, Amy, I'm one of those people who come in and off that page, and I did not understand the difference between the town hall meeting and the Board of Education meeting. And I guess when I was watching, I tuned in to see how high schoolers were being affected by the changes in the format.
Yeah.
And then I was listening to it, I'm like, whoa, does anybody want to go back to school? Is it just me? I was
Yeah, so I think, whenever
anybody out there?
Last Monday when the reentry plan was announced, we were all kind of shocked, right? Whoa, these are some big changes with no warning.
Right.
And so, I'm an organizer. This is where I get touchy, because I don't think it's when I'm standing in front of the board. My role is as a parent. I've been in a High County school parent for 11 years. I think what I do for a living is irrelevant, to be honest with you. I don't think it should matter. But because I'm an organizer, that's how my brain works, right? So it's my natural response, right, to bring people together for the greater good, But what was happening were all these parents had, all these questions, and I was like, well, okay, so if this was not on this page, you would suggest that they ask for a meeting. And so that's what we did, And so I sent an email, the board responded quickly, and I was like, look, we're going to have a town hall, on Thursday night. And so that's when we put the parent survey out with those questions, allowed you to, submit a question or a concern. And so that was that. Now, Monday night, that was just a regularly scheduled board meeting. But what I found, I went on one of the news posts yesterday, and I can't believe the stuff I was people were like, oh my gosh, there's a parent group out here. I'm a parent, nobody asked me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. There is this weird, crazy rumor that we're scheduling private meetings now.
Yeah.
And what in the world, And so, I have one friend that I told her yesterday, I'm like, I need you to call, I need to talk to you so you can settle me down because I cannot explain to you
Right.
the stress of the people that have been approaching me and just anger, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is just, they're mad.
Right.
And just the frustration playing out. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like people think that I now have like some kind of weird secret parent society that's like calling all these big meetings and there are 50 people showing up. Like,
Well, it's
that's
just
not
because
even-
you haven't taught them the handshake you taught us earlier.
yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
and the secret passcode. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
I got it tattooed already.
oh my God. Yes. I mean, but I'm like, y'all. But again, right? What I needed to focus on was what do we need to do to help people realize, y'all, the board meets all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it's hilarious.
Because this is a regular
Right.
occurrence. It's law, I think.
Yeah, when that meeting started, like I told you, the only reason why I tuned into it, I immediately called Olivia, or I texted her or
Who
messaged
knows?
her, and I was like, I thought this was about going back to school. It's like people are talking about sports, so I was confused.
And then I immediately was like, well, I better tune in because I was going to check it later. And tuned in and I heard just everyone speaking. So it was very clear people were speaking from their heart, and like just about their true feelings. And that was really nice because a lot of us feel, even if it's indifferent, we feel the same, just as passionate.
And it's also nice to hear different people's boats. We keep saying everyone's on a different boat.
Yeah.
And there was some things I didn't realize, and that was the sick leave.
Right.
You know what I mean? For teachers and students and how it was going to be accounted against them. So that was another thing that opened my eyes.
Yeah, it was very eye-opening. And I'm with you, Amy. Like, when I hear people say, no one told me about it, I've always been in the mentality, like, I'm going to find out about it, or I'm probably going to call and invite myself. So that's probably why a lot of people, if you talk to them about me, they either love me or they're going to hate me, because I'm pretty blunt about a lot of things. So when someone says to me, like, no one told me about it, I was like, well, I just did. So, so now what?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? What you do with the information is either you're going to complain no one told you about it, or you're going to jump right in and be a part of it. The conversation is something that you want to see change, or you want to see kind of grow into a different situation.
I think this is a perfect example of an opportunity, like, parents are out of that loop. We've never really been involved like that on a large scale. So, now we have an opportunity. We realize people don't even know when the Board of Education meets, or that anybody can go and speak, which is, I want to point this out. I'm not going to lay too hard on that meeting the other night or anything that's afterwards. But the school board doesn't have to allow us to speak at those meetings, and they don't have to Facebook Live it. That is a courtesy that the Ohio County School Board has decided to give us. And so, do with that information what people want, but it doesn't have to be that way. But, how can we take, that's one of the things, hopes that I have for this group is like, we can educate folks now, like, look, y'all, these Board of Education meetings are on the calendar on the website, on the school's website. So now we know they're there. Now we know that's an option, so you can go and speak at those anytime you want to.
And if you're getting your information from Facebook, you can actually set, your settings for, if you like the page or you follow the page to get an alert when they go live or get an alert when they post something. Because I just don't like to miss things. So all my kids' school, if they make a post, I get an alert about it. Just so, I don't get that Facebook algorithm, secret society. Because sometimes all you see is, well, for me, recipes. Because that's what I look at a lot.
Yes.
So I don't want to miss it.
But I think that's what my hopes for this page are. Like, how can we turn this into a real learning experience that'll show parents? In my opinion, it's our role to be involved, and it's our role to know what's going on when it comes to our kids' education. And, like last year, one of my coworkers came up here, and Kim Miller and I know Chris Carter attended, but we did an LSIC training for parents in the county, because those local school improvement committees, they have so much power that's not tapped into. Like, they could write policy.
Right.
Like, they could say, hey, look, this is what's best for our school. And, like, they just have so much power, but the parents don't realize that. And so, how can we take this Facebook community that we're starting to build and really turn that into a place where people can come and just really get education about how the public education system from the state down is set up.
And those committees have limited seats available, correct? I mean, they
do
yeah.
To be voting members, but they're all also public meetings. So like you can go anytime you want, and then we should be told who serves on those committees. They're like just a real powerful piece in hopes that administration and parents work together to do what's best for their schools.
Maybe that's a great, maybe some resources that can be shared on this Ohio Ohio County parent community too, because I wouldn't even know where to start to find out where some of those public meetings are being held, or even the agenda that they're covering. Because I'm assuming that's public knowledge too, correct?
Yeah, and I mean, because that goes kind of back to this weird culture of a lot of times when people ask questions, yesterday I received a phone call, totally unrelated to education, but as soon as I saw the number on the caller ID, I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I automatically, my gut's like, trauma response,
yeah.
trouble. And so, how do we break down that culture when it comes to the education system? Because again, just because we're uncomfortable doesn't mean that we're under attack.
Right.
And, from either part. And so I really hope that the community can expand to where we can bring educational pieces to the parents, and we can just really get a better grasp of how the state of West Virginia has their education system set up, and then what could we do to work to improve that so it's the best for the majority.
Absolutely, and especially when each school system has this tiny budget that's given to them from the state, and it said, you got to work with it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. One thing that really stuck out to me, of course, that teacher survey that the group put out, it was, it wasn't of any official capacity, right? Like,
right.
We saw the comments, but but what it gave me was it actually broke my heart. And Beth Collins, and she did the survey, but we talked about it the other night when we were leaving the meeting. And one thing that we really got from that was that the teachers aren't asking for less work. They're actually asking for more. And, when you read those comments about why they didn't think it was safe right now to return 5 days, a lot of them just want that vaccine, right? And that's not just for themselves. That's because no one, we can go back and forth all day. Well, I read this article that said kids don't get it. Well, this guy said 2,000 kids in West Virginia have it right now. Like, because there's just so much information out there. But these teachers, they just really want the vaccine. And they don't want the county to pull their kids who are on remote learning away from their classroom, because the teachers understand the importance of consistency and relationships. And I think that's one of the things that we really need to point out is that, the majority of the responses were from elementary teachers, but some of the comments that they left, it really just tugged at my heart to hear them. Like, they were practically begging, please don't take these kids out of my class.
Right, and I know from a parent standpoint, sometimes that's only way I can get something done with my second grader and be like, I'm going to take a video of yourself not wanting to do this and send it to your teacher. And they immediately are like, no, don't show her, don't do that, I'll do it. And if I feel like we take that little bit of that connection that they was able to make with these teachers this year, either whether it be through virtual or even through in class, if they was able to go into class, we're going to start all over with that accountability, because as much as I can take things away, I don't want to be the enforcer or the punisher when it comes to education, because that's just not, I'm there to help, I'm there to reinforce, and I'm not there to do things they can do for themselves, but I've been put into a position that I have to be the enforcer or the punisher, and it is so hard sometimes to walk away. I'm actually hoarse today because we did regrouping this morning. No joke, because I feel like I walk away, I'm like, I just hate arguing with them the importance of this or why they need to learn it, because I'm the only one that's really doing that right now, I don't know.
But it's like we were talking about earlier, you know what I mean? everyone's in a different situation right now, navigating through this, what right now is virtual schooling.
Yeah.
You know, I work 9 to 5. So I depend on someone to answer me after 5 o'clock because, quite frankly, I am having the time of my life right now with these iPads.
Yeah.
But like last night, you know, we're doing spelling tests, and I shared with Olivia,
Yeah.
you know, the spelling words and you know what came from it, and there was a lot of tears, and it's really frustrating for who I'm teaching right now at home, and I can't grasp how they're learning.
Yeah.
I've never been taught that. I keep laughing because I'm not even a pretend substitute teacher. I mean, I'm serious. I am, and it brings a lot of emotions to the table. Where when I get home, I'm sad because I'm not enjoying fun and laughter and let's sit and have dinner, go watch movies. Do you know what I mean? Let's go. And this past week, it's been beautiful outside.
Yeah.
We're going home and it's a school.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's an uncomfortable school. It's not, you know.
And whereas we're working to get it all done, because if my kids are like, no, let's do it on Saturday and Sunday, like, no, Saturday and Sunday is the only day that we can really enjoy just whatever we want to. Like, I don't have to answer my emails. I don't have to answer my work phone if I don't want to. I don't have to think about, like, you know, how horrible our budget is right now and what I can do to overcome that. We can just do whatever we want.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that's that whole struggle, you know, and my kids are teenagers, and I'm like, this is destroying my relationship with my kids.
It is.
You know, and I'm, you know, me, right? Like, you don't want to live the kind of life that I've lived.
Right. Yeah. You have to learn this because eventually you want to make more than minimum wage, you know, like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I get mad at my husband because I feel like it's all on my shoulders. And then I'm just like, you don't even know what I've gone through today.
Yes, you know, it's been so stressful.
I love you, Noah, just in case you're listening.
The other day, my middle schooler brought her computer out in the middle of class, and I'm on a conference call. Mm-hmm. And she's like, Mom, I can't find this worksheet.
Yeah.
So, you know, there we are. I'm not a touchscreen person, and so I'm trying to, like, navigate her Chromebook. I have a conference call going where I'm just waiting for somebody to say my name, like, you know, and so the teacher's like, hey, your TV is really loud right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not the TV. That's my work call.
Yeah.
Like, you know? And then she's like, oh, I'm sorry. And I felt like a butthead.
Right.
You know, because I know I said that a lot shorter than I wanted to, but I was like, I want someone to come and tell me how to manage this right now in my life, because I am miserably failing at this. And if I've worked a 12-hour day, I am not at 9 o'clock at night going to say to both of them, go and get your computers so we can stay up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and argue about geometry or West Virginia history.
Yeah, and I feel
like I'm not going to do it. Like, in order to survive this and to manage myself and like, so a bit of my self-care is to be like, you know, and my kids are teenagers, they're older, so but I'm like, y'all
still,
know what you have to do.
It's just time to prepare.
Like, yes, and I'm like, maybe I need to quit helicopter parenting through this and let you deal with your own consequences.
No, don't stop. Don't stop. Keep that propeller rolling, because they'll thank you one day for this. I promise you.
You'll laugh about it when they graduate college and you do Sunday breakfasts. And remember, Mom? Yeah. Well,
you know,
Amy,
the funny thing is, I went to college. I went to college in 1989 to become a teacher, and I dropped out with my student teaching left because I knew back then, 30 years ago,
This isn't for me.
well, Amy, I really appreciate you taking this hour to talk to us. And, you know,
this has been fun.
We love conversation.
We do. And thanks for listening, everybody. This has been The Watchdog. Go ahead, you can wrap it up.
That's okay.
That's
all right. And if you haven't had a chance listening to Amy Jo Hutchinson on YouTube with her congressional speech,
yes,
you're listening to The Watchdog on AM 1600.